Okay, so something a little different for you guys. What are your thoughts? This is like a two-part question.
All right.
What are your thoughts on the war on drugs, and why do you think marijuana is still a Scheduled One controlled substance?
All right. So, Sebastian, want to answer the first part. So, what do you think about the war on drugs currently, like in society?
I feel like it was a way just to propagate something. Honestly,
Right.
ever since you
So,
got to aim for a target to get votes, right?
right. So, yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely a political aspect that's heavily voiced for votes. So, I agree with that. But as far as the war on drugs, we have an interesting perspective if you're in well, technically southern United States specifically, because
Yeah.
we're right next to the border where the epicenter of drugs, arguably in the whole fucking world, you could argue, is right next to us. So Mexico, the cartel is an interesting entity because they have power that could change elections, that can change entire governments in Mexico. That's the kind of power that they have, and they have such power that I've seen instances where they beat the government. The government concedes, they surrender, and that
Fucked up.
implies a superpower. Damn near, you're damn near a political faction. You can even argue they're a political faction, a malevolent one maybe, but they're a political faction if they're able to change the course of governmental elections. I mean, that's fucking insane. And they have
I mean, they even
people in their
have their own.
pockets. They're in people's pockets too.
Oh, fat dude.
Yeah.
They even
Yeah.
have their own militarized vehicles too. Like
Yeah. And
seriously.
the war on drugs is a never ending one because addiction is just, it speaks testaments to humans' inevitable lust for immediate gratification. That's why it's so hard to destroy it. Money's always going to be made. You can't stop that. The only thing you can do is limit it and stop their avenues to distribute the drugs. The distribution is the only way to stop it. You can't stop the drugs being consumed. That'll never change. But the war on drugs
So
currently doesn't seem good to me, especially on the other side of the borderline. And the U.S. is a huge consumer. I mean, I've seen fentanyl, which is a very dangerous drug that kills people
oh,
right away. I've seen it go all the way up
absolutely.
north, up to fucking Seattle. Like, bro, they
It's
have a
so bad,
hold.
man.
Yeah, it's terrible. They have a hold on southern U.S. and northern U.S. at this point, because they're very strategic. The cartel is extremely strategic. They have, I would argue, at least in the southern parts of the U.S., they have small like areas where they congregate and they work there, and then those guys work with the guys on the other side of the border, and they have a whole system. So this goes back to, okay, this is all controversial, but Trump was fighting the war on drugs, right? He had the wall, which I truly don't understand what the problem with that was. He did not want security. Like, it's not about race; it's about stopping fucking drugs from killing people. Like, what the fuck does race have to do
Yeah.
with it? Like, an illegal immigrant's an illegal immigrant. Doesn't matter what race he is. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. But he was trying to fight it. He was trying to have heightened security to stop the tunnels from being built because they build tunnels underneath the border. They still
Oh,
get
for
through.
miles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they stuff people in fucking trunks. They stuff people in suitcases, like all kinds of shit that they do. They literally stuff shit up their ass. Then they still get in here. So the war on
Hey,
drugs,
man.
it's a losing fight right now, especially with our current political leaders. It's definitely a losing fight. Definitely
So
is.
to summarize, basically, you think because of humanity in general, like the general tendency of humanity,
Right.
with being addicted towards like immediate gratification. Therefore, many of us go to substances, and so for like a blanket or umbrella way of controlling the masses, they implement these laws or ordains and try
Right.
to control the flow of distribution, essentially.
Yeah, essentially, we're our own worst enemy because one, yeah, the first thing you stated, we're inevitably lusting for immediate gratification. That'll never stop the consumption. Two, it's the legislation taking place. The legislation is allowing open border. It's allowing more freedom of entrance, which invites the cartel. They're like, all right, Trump is no longer in office. There's no wall here. Let's go through Arizona. There's no wall there. Never was built. Let's go around the border and around the Pacific. You can't stop us. They don't. Biden doesn't give a fuck. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the real problem. There's two key issues: our own humanity and our own physiology, and legislation. Some people go farther and say it's conspiratorial. I don't go that far and say that they're all working together. But I don't think that's true. But either way,
A
it's a
little far
problem.
fetched.
So it's
Yeah.
a huge problem.